Hello all, it's the Old Geek, and I've got one of those nice tier list things up on screen, and I've done you a little slideshow, so you can see the art a little bit better. I'm going to be attempting to rank all the cover art from OD&D and first edition AD&D, and this is all the source books and manuals and general bits and bobs that go with those systems. All the official releases. Hopefully I've managed to get them all. But let's see where they go. Of course, OD&D began in 1974, and it was a very small, low-budget affair. So I'm not expecting great things from some of the cover art. We shall see. And remember, I started D&D in '83, so I've got no nostalgia for OD&D. That might influence my decisions of where to put things. But hey ho, I'm just a 50-something nerd who knows what he knows and doesn't know what he doesn't know. And I'm not an artist either. So, complete amateur. Right, first up we have Men and Magic from the original white box range of stuff. I don't dislike this cover. I know it's not all sort of slick and professional, but it does what it's supposed to do. And yeah, the proportions are a bit out on this warrior, but I'm going to put this one slap bang in the middle. It's not terrible. It sells a product, and it sells a product of its time. The ratings are the usual. Geek is top tier, Table Flip is bottom tier, Nerd, Dweeb and Dork are all in the middle. Men of Magic goes into Dweeb. And let's move my little slideshow along. Hopefully that's updating for you. This one is Monsters and Treasure. This one's bloody abysmal. Yes, it's a picture of a dragon, but it's an awful picture of a dragon, and I'm afraid this one goes straight into Table Flip. Moving on. This one's even worse. I believe this is supposed to be... Is it a Pegasus? Is it a Hippogriff? It's very, very hard to tell. I'm not quite sure why the flying horse has a snake-like neck and a beak. Is it a Hippogriff, perhaps? No, don't like it. Don't like it, and it's worse than the last one. So it goes at the bottom for now. This one's quite difficult to see. I could probably do with zooming in, but again, it's just meh. I believe this is the image from the front of the original white box set. I've just noticed it's still in a different order on my slideshow, so I'm wondering if I've just accidentally put things in the wrong order. But hey ho, doesn't matter. It's not as bad as the dragon. It's not good though, and it's going low dork. Oh yeah, I've filtered the box set covers in the wrong order. Don't matter. Well, this is the wood grain box set cover, and it's a lot more dramatic than the previous one. It's much better. Okay, it's not your slick professional piece of art, but I don't dislike the pose. I don't dislike the dramatic shading on it. So it's going to go higher dork than the last one, and I'm going to move the last one down to Table Flip. There we go. I think it's all right. It's all right. Blackmore. We're 1975 at the moment. Silhouetted. It's You know, one of my favourite images from basic D&D is the silhouette of Keep on the Borderlands, the back cover image by Errol Otis. I think it's beautiful. Silhouettes can be great if they're done well, and this one's just meh. Really? Meh. Going in dork. Low dork. Okay. When we laugh at old school art, it's often due to the abysmal depiction of the beholder in these very early books. It got better. The depiction of the beholder in the first edition AD&D Monster Manual was a lot better, but this really isn't. The eye isn't big enough. It just looks dopey. It looks stupid. It looks like it sat at the front of the class going, "I don't get it, teacher." So I'm afraid this one goes in there. Now they've got colour for gods, dogs, for gods, demigods, and heroes, and it's clearly done in the Egyptian style, and it works. It's much better than the most of the previous ones we've looked at. I rather like this as a front cover for a book on pantheons. It gives that traditional Egyptian vibe. It does what it's supposed to do, and this one's going into nerd. On the opposite end of the scale, swords and spells. What is that supposed to depict? It's a mess. It's okay. It's a scroll with people fighting on it, and it's just an absolute bloody mess. And it goes. Nothing's going lower than the snake-necked hippogriff thing, but it goes into table flip. You know, with the old Satanic Panic thing, they didn't do themselves any real favours, did they? Obviously, the Satanic Panic ended up causing D&D to sell rather well, because people are like, "Oh, this is edgy. We like edgy." Who remembers the song "Relax" by Frankie Goes to Hollywood in the 1980s? Radio 1 banned it because of its blatant sexual content. Immediately it went to number 1 in the charts, and it's one of the biggest selling British singles of all time. It was in the charts all year. It was a huge success. So that's what they call that, a version of the Streisand effect. something like that, and not quite the same, because it wasn't the band bringing attention to it. It was Radio 1, but it backfired on Radio 1. Made the BBC look quite stupid. So, courting that, that panic hadn't really started in 76 when this came out. 75, 76, Eldritch Wizardry, 76. But I think it was a bit short-sighted. I think this sort of image would have caused the panic, but it ultimately turned out better for D&D and TSR, certainly throughout the 80s. But I don't like it. It's a little bit gratuitous for me. I'm a little bit of a prude when it comes to... I don't mind the sort of big hair, chainmail bikini sort of stuff. I don't mind pictures in the Monster Manual of succubus boobies and things like that. This one, it feels a little unnecessary. I think the best way to describe it is unnecessary. And it's going in low dork. Speaking of the Monster Manual, right. It's fair to say that some of these monster designs, and on the back of the Monster Manual, they persisted. They created traditional images in our minds of what the monsters look like. And I think the troll's good. I like the roper. The unicorn's okay. What did you get on the back? There was pixies. My monster manual's down on the floor somewhere. I'll creak a lot if I pick it up. I'm going to look at the back. I know I'm supposed to be looking at front covers. Oh, there we go. Manticore. There is a proper griffin. Is that a griffin in the other book earlier? No, it's not a griffin, is it? No. The purple worm's awful. The carrion crawler's all right. I think goblins running away from the purple worm. Meh. It's so hit and miss. But that red dragon is just bloody awful. Why has it got black bat wings? It's a messy hodgepodge. It really is a messy hodgepodge. And though people may like it because of the nostalgia, I've certainly got nostalgia for it because it's one of the first books I bought when I was probably 12 years old. It's going in table flip, I'm afraid. It's not as bad. Look, it's at the top of table flip. It's at the top of table flip. Because they'd already done better. Look at the gods, demigods and heroes. That was already better. And just to show, just a year later, they could do better. They let Trampier loose. And the great DAT, let me just adjust the screen. The great DAT produced this. Is it the greatest cover image of a role-playing book of all time? Arguable. But what's not arguable is the fact that it's right up there with the very best. That is unpredictable. That is geek. That is... The word iconic is used far too often, but I'm using it here. Iconic. Absolutely iconic. It was everything a D&D rulebook should be in terms of cover art. Hands down. Hands down. Okay. So, with Trampier doing the Player's Handbook art, it went over to Sutherland to do the Dungeon Master's Guide. And am I going to annoy people with my opinion of the Dungeon Master's Guide cover art? I don't think it's that great. I don't think Sutherland was good enough. I really don't. Yeah, it's... I mean, the Ifrit is just... It's just too static. I don't think... Sutherland did do a few decent bits and bobs, but his is the work that was quite often the most bland in the early books. It all felt very two-dimensional. There were exceptions. Paladin in Hell, for example. But it was such a mixed bag. Such a mixed bag. And the original Dungeon Master's Guide, it goes in... It's going to be a low dweeb. It might even drop into dork. It's not one of my favourites. It really isn't. I'm sorry, you lot. Right. All the supplements, all the little sort of admin type things they put out. Non-player character records. Now, Otis did a lot of these. In general, I prefer Otis's colour work. I will say that now. There are a few exceptions to that. The inner booklet of I1, Dwellers of the Forbidden City, with the Yuan Ti lying in wait, I think that is fantastic. But some of his monochrome covers aren't that great by comparison. I loved his use of colour. That psychedelic image, like really sort of bold yellows and greens and sickly purples that he liked to use. I think that really brought it out, and it could all feel a little bit not so sure when it came to monochrome. Having said that, I don't dislike this cover. It's a wizard or a sage looking through his books, and this is meant to be a DM's tool to help organize his NPCs. So it fits the purpose of the book, and it's not too OTT, and that sort of that cloud, that dream of all the figures in the background, it's quite effective. So I think this is one of his better ones that he did for the admin stuff. And I'm going to put this in Dweeb. I'm going to put it above Men of Magic. Right. Oh, we're in a different order. Okay. Okay, so here we go. This was what was this for? Permanent character folder. Just about read that there. I never owned one of these. I never really saw the point in it. And that cover didn't sell it to me. I know it's showing adventurers doing adventurous things. They've killed a dragon. Is it a dragon or is it a basilisk? Or it's almost certainly a dragon, isn't it? And they found a big pile of loot. But, you know, I don't think it's as effective as the previous cover we looked at. The one for that NPC sheets. And it's going... I think High Dork. High Dork. Right, Dungeon Master screen. Most of us, when we think of the DM screen, think of that wonderful Trampier piece, which adorned the main screen you used, but it was screen 2 in the pack. This was the cover art. When you got it sealed, this is the one that was on the main cover, front cover of it. The lesser used of the two screens. And it ain't great. It's Otis. It's far from Otis's best. It feels like a bit of a throwaway piece from him. And it's going to go... I think it's going to go there. I think it's high table flip. High table flip, I'm afraid. I didn't like this. I much preferred Trampier's work on the other screen. So much better. So much better. Right. Remember what I was saying about Otis's use of colour? When you've got a book on deities, as with the gods, demigods, and heroes, it's got to give that otherworldly feel. With gods, demigods, and heroes, it gave it with that Egyptian effect, because Egyptian pantheon, and they got the effect right. Here, Otis has portrayed it's a very traditional image of a classical, most likely Greek, hero or god dealing with a bad thing, and it's all lit up with those Otis colours: green, purple, pink. It's Otis doing what Otis does best, and as a result, it's going... I think it's going to go there. It's either high nerd or low geek. I think it's very good. I like this one a lot. Not quite sure it's quite geek. Actually, no, it's going to go there. Very high nerd. Very, very good. I cut this one out from the rest of the cover because when I resized it for the purpose of doing this, it lost a lot of the detail. This is the DM's adventure log. I've got it slightly bigger so that you can see it a lot better on the video. I'm hoping it comes through big enough. It's certainly big enough on my screen. And in this, Otis really did get the shading of... I mean, look at the way the shadows are working from that torch. They're posed a bit oddly, but I love the way the whole thing carries across with those shadows, and the knoll is stood there aggressively. I think this proves that Otis could do a really, really good monochrome piece of work when he set his mind to it. And I think, well, we know he can. And I think he should have done more like this. I really do think he should have done more like this. And this is going in high nerd. I like that one. I do like that picture a lot. Okay. We're going to go with nostalgia now. Oh, I think my Brummie accent came out there then. When I bought the original World of Greyhawk boxed set in 1985, the revised one. I've got no real nostalgia for the folio set, even though I own the folio now, mainly because it was cheaper to rebuy it than to rebuy the box set that I had before, which was going for silly money. And on this cover, I love the heraldry around the outside, but I don't like the bit in the middle at all. I think the bit in the middle is crap, but the heraldry is good. Would it sell me the product? It's one of those... I don't know. I was too young to be into D&D when this came out. 80, 81? 80. So I'd have been 8. I was born late, 71. It gets... For now, it gets high dork. I might do a bit of shuffling to try and balance out the rankings at the end. Rogues Gallery. Okay. I used to like this, but compared with Otis's work on the DM's adventure log, it's not in the same ballpark, is it? It's not in the same ballpark. It feels like one of his lazier pieces. I do like the way he shows the half-orc in there. I like the fact that the dwarf is wielding a military pick. The pose of the female warrior or thief or whatever she might be is rubbish. Halfling's got nice traditional hairy feet and a fat belly. It's low dweeb. It's low dweeb. Here we have the first pack of the player character record sheets that came out for AD&D. Again, it's Otis, and it feels like low effort. But I think it's better than Rogues Gallery. Do I? It's one of those. I think the thief at the front looks mysterious. It's patchy. Yeah, it's gonna go in there for now. Okay. Not everybody likes the art style of the Fiend Folio. I like Russ Nicholson. Not a fan of Albie Fiore. But Russ Nicholson, yeah, do like that. There was another guy, wasn't there, who was doing the artwork. His name escapes me. I can usually reel these off apart from when I'm videoing myself. The purpose of a cover is to sell a book. And for the same reason that Deities and Demigods is sold by that Otis image, this cover art by Emmanuel did exactly the same for the Fiend Folio. It is a classic Githyanki. I love the way it carries on to the back art in a better way than the original Dungeon Master's Guide did. Not up there with the Player's Handbook, of course. Colours are bold, and the colours stand out, and that Githyanki portrayal sticks with you. And is it better than Deities and Demigods or not? Does it jump off the shelf more than Deities and Demigods does or not? I'm saying yes. I'm saying yes. I think it's one of those. Right, here we go. 1983 now. Did I say 1982? Oh, there was nothing in 1982. Fiendfolio was 81. 1983 now. The revised Dungeon Master's Guide. Now, this is the Dungeon Master's Guide that I had as a kid. And this is where Jeff Easley stepped in and started doing cover art. And it's a guide to Dungeon Masters. And this is a Dungeon Master opening the great doors to his world. And I absolutely love it to bits. Love it to bits. It's what cover art is supposed to be. There we go. It's in second place. This is the World of Greyhawk box set that I had when I was in my teens. And this advertises the world much better than the one on the cover of the folio did. It's got that sense of chivalry. Knights riding out from the castle. The gold embossing. I think it's really good. Really, 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 really good. And it goes in there. I'm going to annoy some people now. A lot of people in my chat say, "Oh, I like the picture on the Monster Manual too." You know what? I like the warrior at the front. I like the trees at the back. But that giant, what exactly is it? Is it a Firbolg? If so, the proportions are all wrong. Firbolg's meant to be about 8, 9, 10 feet. Work out the height of that giant compared to, I assume, it looks like it's an elf or a human warrior. You're looking at about 5, 6 foot. That giant is far too big. Doesn't fit the description of the Firbolg in the book. So he's taken, it's an Easley cover, he's taken license with the description, if indeed it is a Firbolg. He also hasn't got a clue how to fight with that halberd. It's awkward. The posing of the giant is awkward. The rest of the cover is lovely. But that main central image, the giant, is just awkward. Is his head even in the right place? Or is it his shoulder? It's cumbersome. It looks like he doesn't know how to fight. And that's a problem with it. And it goes in low dweeb. That's at best. It's almost in dork. Get your pitchforks out for me now. Right, this is the Easley Player's Handbook. Now, I can understand people who might be a little biased against this because it replaced the classic Trampier cover. But I love it. It's slick and competent, but also characterful. It's imaginative. It's beautifully coloured. That combination of white, red, and blue, and black, and gold highlighting. It's stunning. It really is a nice. Such a tatty word, nice, isn't it? So I'm not going to use it. But it goes in nerd. I'm afraid. Not nerd, geek. towards the bottom of geek, but it goes in geek. I always loved it. Always loved that picture. It does what it's supposed to do. Player character record sheets, re-released in 1984, and instead of commissioning new artwork, they used the artwork from the back of the colour Village of Hommlet release. And because it's reused, because it's lazy, because it's just cheap, really. It's cheap filler. Really is cheap filler. I like the artwork when used in the right context originally on the back of the Village of Hommlet, but because it's just cynical cheap filler, I'm afraid you're going down there. Battle system. Battle system. How many of you played Battle System? I did. I rather enjoyed it. Why did I buy it? Why did I buy Battle System? Because big barbarian type riding Triceratops into battle is cool. Of course it is. Of course it is. Is it Eastleigh's best work? No. Is it fitting for a battle supplement? Absolutely. Is it awesome? Yes. Is it geek? No. Is it high nerd? Yes, it is. Boom. Get in that gap. There we go. Battle system goes in there. That's for that. Legends and lore. Odin. Riding Sleipnir, his horse. Flanked by his wolves. Holding his spear. Thunder cracking in the background. It's good, isn't it? Even if you love the original Deities and Demigods, even if it was a bit of a cash-in to reissue it. I mean, yes, they did all these Orange Spine re-releases, didn't they? They were all slight cash-ins, but no, new cover art that worked. It did work, and ooh, I'm going to put it there. I'm going to put it there. Is it better than the original Deities and Demigods? It's hard to say. It's about the same. It's about the same. I like them both. I think they're both lovely. Lankmar, City of Adventure. This was Keith Parkinson. Now, I read Fritz Leiber's Fafhrd and Greymouse books. I don't think I read all of them, but I certainly read some of them when I was about 13. And I pictured this dark, seedy city. And the artwork for this particular pantheon and heroes in Deities and Demigods backed that up, that seediness. I like Parkinson in general, but I don't like this. I really don't. I never bought Lankmar City of Adventure, even though I like the setting, I like the I like the characters, I like the books. And I don't know, I mean, I can't say whether the cover art affected me buying it or not buying it. It might have just been lack of money, I can't remember. But to me, I mean, that's obviously Fafhrd and Greymouse on the front cover. They look too clean. They look too goodly. I never pictured them like that. I never pictured Fafhrd and Greymouse to look like that. I wanted them to look a bit rougher, dirtier, more devious. And even though it's technically well done, the lighting is good, I think it could have been much more shadowy. I think it should have been much more shadowy, and I think the main protagonists should have been portrayed in a different light. So now we're getting quite fussy. I think the technically okay, contents not interested. Right, I put the original Monster Manual cover down on table flip because of the how weak the Red Dragon was on the cover. The other good parts of the cover, but the Red Dragon, that centerpiece, that classical creature, was just so poorly done by Sutherland that it had to go down table flip. Eastleigh got hold of it, and that's a much better Red Dragon, fighting a load of Pegasi. It's classic, isn't it? It's much better than the original, and I think it's worthwhile re-releasing a book when you can improve on it, and they've improved on the cover. Shout at me, swear at me all you want, but this one, I'm gonna put it there. I'm going to put it there, right at the top of Nerd. I'm going to reserve Geek for the very, very best, in my opinion. But the Nerd covers are all very good, and right at the top of Nerd. What have we got next? Oriental Adventures, another book I didn't buy at the time because I wasn't into all the kung fu films and kung fu TV shows that were popular. There were people who were, and I know they were big in the States. I wasn't, and I didn't feel I needed the book. I wasn't exactly made of money. So, for completeness nowadays, yeah, if I find a really good condition, solid copy for a sensible price, bang, I'll have it, and I'll read it, and I'll enjoy it. But in the 80s, I didn't. Having said that, I think the cover's great. I think the cover's really, really good. It's exciting. It shows the flavour of those adventures that the book is trying to put forth. So we are definitely going to put this one there. I think it's going to go there. Another high Nerd. Really, really, really good. Really, really good. Eastleigh, when he got it right, was an excellent artist. And here we go again. Unearthed Arcana. An old sage. He doesn't look evil, he looks quite kindly. But you don't quite know what's going on in those experiments of his. It's so fitting for the book itself. It's a book that polarizes opinion. The contents were... I shouldn't really thump the desk, should I, while I'm recording? The contents were a mixed bag. A DM would need to be selective with what was in there. And the older I get, the more I move away from what's in there, more towards the purity of the core game. But I will certainly look into Unearthed Arcana for a little bit of inspiration from time to time. But it's a book I fall back on less and less as I get older. The cover, though, does what it's supposed to do. It sells the book. It's bright where it needs to be bright. It's dark where it needs to be dark. It's a cover you'll look at and think, and you'll question what's in those jars. What is he doing? What is he researching? What knowledge is in that book on his table? Is that white beard and the fact that he doesn't look evil, is that all for show? Is he really twisted, concocting some hideous experiment? We don't know. Unearthed Arcana is going there. That cover is going there. Dungeoneer Survival Guide. I am on record as saying I think both the Dungeoneer Survival Guide and the Wilderness Survival Guide are both somewhat superfluous. There's some good ideas in there, but you've got to really pick and choose and tone them down because it can cause things to grind to a halt. There are bits and pieces, there's inspiration, but as presented, I think it's unusable. unless you really want to grind the game. But there's bits and pieces you can use in there. Bits and pieces that can inspire when you write adventures. You can add weather effects. You can add dungeon terrain, cavern terrain, that sort of thing. You can introduce some of the equipment that's in them. That's the approach I would take, and I do take sometimes. But we're here to talk about the covers. I bought Dungeoneer Survival Guide when I was a kid. I regretted buying it, but I don't dislike the cover. I think it shows a good example of how to use low-level critters in a dungeon environment and challenge player characters. Is it as good as Eastleigh's other covers? No, of course it isn't. But it's not terrible. It's not awful. And it's going in the top of Dweeb. Right, the Wilderness Survival Guide. After being burnt somewhat on the Dungeoneer Survival Guide, I didn't buy the Wilderness one originally. And it was the contents that really put me off. I didn't want to go in that direction with my game. It would have taken a very, very good cover to turn me around, I think. And it's not a terrible cover, but it's not up there with the very best. It's okay. It's competent. It's dramatic. But I think it's slightly worse than the one used. No, I'm going to put it there. I'm going to put it there. Middle of the road. Middle of the road. Okay, here we go. Dragonlance Adventures. I'd stopped buying a lot of the D&D rule books by this point. Dragonlance I found tiresome. I thought TSR were milking it too much. I was put off by all the modules that were coming out for Dragonlance. I like the books, and I like the world. I think the world is engaging. I've played in a campaign since. That was a lot of fun. But I didn't buy this book because of my dislike for my bias against the modules. And I don't think it's unfounded, my bias against the modules. I think I'm right to have that. It steered the game away from what I liked. But the cover of Dragonlance Adventures, it didn't change my mind. I'm not mad keen on the Lich, Death Knight, whatever he is. Is that Lord Soth? Meant to be Lord Soth in the background. Not mad keen on his pose. This is clearly Tanis at the front. It's not bad though. It's not bad. It's better than the Wilderness Survival Guide. Not up there with the Dungeoneer Survival Guide. I'm gonna put it there. I'm gonna put it there. Forgotten Realms. Who's the artist for this one? Is that Parkinson? I'm guessing here. Okay, yes, I can see his signatures at the bottom. It's Parkinson. Another thing I didn't buy at the time. I've heard it was a strong box set before Forgotten Realms went silly. Is it Parkinson's best? No. Is it bad? No, definitely not. Parkinson was a talented artist. He drew some very good stuff. Do those things in the background look a little bit adult in shape? Yes, they do. Average. It's just average. It's just, I don't know. I'm gonna go there. Didn't sell it to me, did it? Caratur. Forgotten Realms box set, 1987. Again, is it Parkinson again? I think it might be. No. The quality of the skill involved in the technical nature of the art it's clearly better than the early stuff, but it's pretty soulless. It is pretty soulless. Yeah, goes down there. Goes down there. Okay. So, Eastleigh's covers went from being stunning to a little bit so-so. 1987's Manual of the Planes. Awesome. Just, it's an Astral Dreadnought, I believe, the thing on the front. Way to advertise a book. It's fantastic. It's one of my favourite covers. It's fabulous. It is a fabulous cover. It's one of Eastleigh's best pieces. And this one goes there. Absolutely love it. I love it to bits. I'm just staring at it. It's one of my favourite pieces of early D&D artwork. It's great. It's really, really good. Okay. They've gone down the Forgotten Realms rabbit hole, haven't they? It's a bland name for a product. City System. She's quite good looking. She's very good looking. But is it interesting? No. Really isn't. It just feels so formulaic. Feels very, very formulaic. We are down here at the moment. We are down there. And yeah, I think it's going to go there. Speaking of formulaic, Dungeon Master's design kit. It's boring. It is boring. For me, it sums up what a lot of the current art is like. Boring. Soulless. There's no drama to it. None whatsoever. There we go. Low dork. Finally, our last one. Greyhawk Adventures. Griffin. Big leering tower in the background. What's that creature? Is it? It's quite small here. I don't have this book, so is that a dragon flying in the background? Can't quite make it out. It's much more dramatic than the last couple I've looked at, isn't it? It is. It is. It brings a bit of drama back. It's technically strong. It's Eastleigh. Does it leap off the shelf? Not as much as some of the really good stuff, but I think it just about deserves to get into low nerd. I do. Staring at it now. I mean, it was one of the last products they did, 1988. and I was starting to spend a lot of my money on music at this point, partying, and I'd got less of my small allowance going into D&D stuff. I'd been burnt a little bit by the Dragonlance. The Dragonlance modules had put me off, and we had enough stuff to play with that we were able to continue gaming with what we'd already bought. I had a lot of modules that hadn't been played. We were trying other systems. We were playing Paranoia. We were playing Car Wars. We were reading through MERP stuff and not actually playing it. Same goes for Rollmaster and GURPS. We read through it without actually playing it. So while we still mainly played D&D, we weren't spending much money on D&D. As a result, I didn't buy Greyhawk Adventures, and I think I regret it now, because the cover's decent. I don't know about the quality of the book. I don't know enough about the quality of this book. I never owned it, but the cover's pretty good. Oh well. If you disagree with any of my bad takes here, then feel free to call me rude words in the comments below. I've been the Old Geek. I hope you've enjoyed this rant and ramble, and I'll see you in the next one.